has been released that the Pure Food and Drug Act and the Meat Inspection Act has been implemented by the 26th President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt, all thanks to the journalist and novelist Upton Sinclair publishing the book The Jungle. In this novel, Sinclair writes about a Lithuanian man who migrates to America for economic opportunity. However, American life is nothing like he imagined. This novel expresses what Sinclair has observed about the meatpacking industry. It exposes the poor working conditions for employees, and even more controversially, the extremely poor conditions of the meat that is consumed by millions of Americans every day. Some of these conditions included having dead and putrid rats, feces, hair, and bones along the carcasses of hogs and cattle. Details such like these quickly caught the attention of many people, but most importantly, the President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt. In shock about what he heard, Roosevelt went to war against the meatpacking industry. On March 10, 1906, Upton Sinclair writes a letter to the president. Sinclair tells President Roosevelt to send his investigators disguised as working men so that they can get the full experience of the conditions of the meat and the people who work there. Without any hesitation, Roosevelt follows these requests and dispatches Charles Neal, the U.S. Labor Commissioner, and James Reynolds, a New York attorney, to investigate the meatpackers. They reported that the conditions were worse than what Sinclair had described. By this time, Roosevelt had heard enough and decides to take action. This led to him now passing two acts to ensure better conditions of meat in America. One of the two acts was the Pure Food and Drug Act. An excerpt from this legislation states, "It shall be unlawful for any person to manufacture within any territory or the District of Columbia any article of food or drug which is adulterated or misbranded within the meaning of this act, and any person who shall violate any of the provisions of this section shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, and for each offense shall, upon conviction thereof, be fined not to exceed $500 or shall be sentenced to 1 year in imprisonment, or both such fine and imprisonment in the discretion of the court, and for each subsequent offense and conviction thereof shall be fined not less than 1,000 or sentenced to 1 year's imprisonment, or both such fine and imprisonment in the discretion of the court." This act prohibited the shipment of impure food or drugs in the interstate commerce and also requires correct labeling on all food products. Theodore Roosevelt also implemented the Meat Inspection Act. An excerpt from this act states that meat and meat food products which are unsound, unhealthful, unwholesome, or otherwise unfit for human food, the Secretary of Agriculture, at its discretion, may cause to be made, by inspectors appointed for that purpose, an examination and inspection for all cattle, sheep, swine, and goats, before they shall be allowed to enter into any slaughtering, packing, meat canning, rendering, or similar establishment in which they are to be slaughtered, and the meat and meat food products therefore are to be used in interstate and foreign commerce. This means that the government has the right to come inspect the quality of products at any time. The question is now, what other big businesses are hiding things from the people? Luckily enough, all thanks to Upton Sinclair and The Jungle, we may see a more involved role of the government regulating big businesses and the rise of the muckrakers.